Do you know why some souls are born to carry more pain than others? Carl Jung believed that destiny isn't random, that some people are chosen for suffering, not as punishment, but as initiation. He called them the ones who walk between worlds. And their path is both terrifying and sacred. But what if being chosen isn't about glory, but about what you must endure? What if your suffering is the universe's way of forcing you to awaken? Stay with me. Because Jung discovered 5 dangerous truths about these souls. Truths most people would rather never hear. But if you've ever felt different, haunted, isolated, or called towards something you can't explain, this message might just be for you. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Jung noticed that some people seem born with an unusual sensitivity, a kind of psychic antenna tuned to the hidden patterns of life. They feel things before they happen. They sense tension in a room before anyone speaks. They carry the world inside their chest as if everyone else's pain were their own. To most people, this is invisible. But to the chosen ones, it's unbearably obvious. It's the burden of awareness. While others drift through life half asleep, you see the mechanics behind their smiles, the lies, the fears, the projections. You notice when people wear masks, because you've worn them too. But here's the first dangerous truth. Awareness isolates you. The moment you wake up, you can never fully go back. You start to see the difference between who people pretend to be and who they really are. And that realization can break you. Jung said the awakening of consciousness is like being born a second time. But birth is never painless. You must leave the comfort of the womb, the safety of ignorance, to step into the blinding light of truth. And that light burns. That's why so many chosen souls retreat into solitude. They don't hate the world, they're just exhausted by it. They feel the madness beneath modern life, the chaos behind the noise, the despair behind the laughter. And they carry it silently. But here's what most people miss: that awareness is the seed of transformation. It's the beginning of individuation, Jung's term for becoming who you truly are. To know too much is to lose innocence. But it's also to gain vision. And when that vision turns inward, the descent begins. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung. In the next chapter, we'll enter the realm Jung feared most, where the chosen must face what lurks in the dark. Every chosen soul eventually meets the shadow. Not a ghost or demon, but something far more intimate. It's you. The second dangerous truth Jung revealed is this: the greater your light, the darker your shadow. You see, the unconscious doesn't vanish just because you've awakened. It adapts. It hides behind your good intentions, your kindness, your moral superiority. It whispers, "You're different. You understand what others don't." But beneath that voice is pride and fear. Jung warned that spiritual people often fall into this trap, the illusion of light. They begin to think they're healed because they can describe their wounds. They confuse self-awareness with transcendence. But the shadow knows. It knows your secret jealousy, your hidden lust, your quiet resentment. And it waits. It waits for the moment you're tired, lonely, disillusioned. Then it slips through the cracks. For the chosen, this confrontation can feel like insanity. Your dreams grow darker. Your relationships crumble. You begin to distrust even your own thoughts. But Jung believed this was necessary, because only by meeting the darkness can you claim your full self. He wrote, No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. That's the paradox of awakening. The more divine your calling, the deeper your descent. This is where many chosen ones give up. They call it depression, burnout, loss of faith. But Jung would call it initiation. Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It shows you everything you've disowned in yourself. And until you face it, you'll keep meeting it out there in others, in lovers, in enemies. The people you can't stand often mirror the parts of you you've buried. That's projection, one of Jung's most dangerous insights. You think you're judging them, but you're really judging yourself. The chosen suffer deeply because they see too much in others and in themselves. But this pain is the fire that forges them, because what waits beyond the shadow is the rarest thing of all: integration. And with integration comes power. But power comes with a price. And that brings us to the third dangerous truth. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. By the time a chosen one meets the shadow, something irreversible happens. They begin to withdraw. Friends start saying, "You've changed." But it's not change, it's unveiling. You no longer fit where you once belonged. This is the third dangerous truth. Awakening will cost you belonging. The chosen are not exiled by society, they exile themselves. Because ordinary conversations feel empty. Small talk tastes like sand in their mouth. Jung wrote that the path toward individuation is a lonely process of becoming. He meant that no one can walk it for you. There comes a moment when guidance ends and silence begins. You start noticing who only loved your mask. You see who cannot handle your truth. And when you remove the mask, many disappear. But here's the haunting paradox. Isolation is both the wound and the medicine. In solitude, something ancient awakens. The noise of the world fades, and the voice within grows louder. You start hearing what Jung called the self, the totality of who you are beyond ego and persona. It whispers through dreams. It speaks through symbols, coincidences, archetypes. And sometimes, it pulls you toward people who are mirrors of your own evolution, those who carry a similar burden. These encounters feel electric. They remind you you're not insane. But they don't last forever. They come to catalyze you, not to keep you comfortable. So if you've been walking alone, if your phone stays silent, if your nights are filled with reflection instead of laughter, understand this: you're not being punished. You're being refined. Every chosen one must face solitude because that's where the false self dies. And when that false self collapses, something terrifying yet liberating begins. The search for meaning. This is where most souls break. Because once everything that used to define you, your beliefs, your status, your identity crumbles, you're left staring into an abyss. And that abyss whispers, nothing matters. Jung called this descent the night sea journey, the ancient myth of a hero swallowed by darkness before dawn. He wrote, "The sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. But to light that flame, you must first be swallowed by meaninglessness." The fourth dangerous truth is this: the chosen must lose meaning before they can create it. Most people borrow their meaning from others, religion, culture, relationships. But chosen souls can't. Their old gods die. Their childhood faith dissolves. And in that collapse, they face a question that terrifies even the wise. If nothing outside of me gives me purpose, what remains? Jung observed that neurosis often arises when the soul refuses the call to deeper meaning. So the chosen suffer not because they're weak, but because their psyche demands authenticity. They can't pretend anymore. Not in love, not in work, not in the mirror. This is where destiny begins to test you. Synchronicities appear small signs that reality itself is responding to your transformation. A book falls open to the perfect page. A stranger says exactly what you needed to hear. Dreams become prophecies. It feels like madness. But Jung believed the psyche communicates in symbols the same language as myth. Meaning is not found, it's forged. It's born in the tension between despair and hope. And when you endure that tension long enough without escaping, without numbing, something alchemical happens. Pain turns into understanding. Darkness turns into wisdom. The philosopher's stone is not gold. It's consciousness. And that consciousness prepares you for the final truth. The one Jung said could either destroy a person or make them whole. Gentle dawn, ambience, faint birds, whine through trees. The fifth dangerous truth is the one Jung whispered rather than shouted. Those who survive the darkness become what they once sought. After the burden of awareness, after the battle with shadow, after the exile and the trial of meaning, the chosen begin to realize the treasure they were searching for was themselves. The self, not the ego, not the mask, but the vast center of being that connects heaven and earth. Jung called this process individuation, the journey toward wholeness. But he warned, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The pain was the doorway all along. The suffering was the proof you were being shaped into something new. Soft, emotional tone. You start to feel alive again, not through pleasure, but through purpose. You see that everything that shattered you was pointing toward integration. You stop asking, why me? Why? And start whispering, thank you. Your relationships deepen. Your intuition sharpens. You sense an invisible rhythm guiding your days. That's the self, leading you quietly, wisely, like an old friend who was always there. And you realize you were never chosen for comfort. You were chosen for transformation. Every wound was an invitation. Every betrayal a mirror. Every dark night a baptism. And now, as you stand reborn, you understand what Jung meant when he said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, because that acceptance is freedom. And so, if you've ever felt cursed by awareness, haunted by meaning, or broken by solitude, remember this: you are not broken. You are becoming. You are one of the few who dared to face themselves. One of the few who can walk through darkness without losing their light. You are, in Jung's words, a living symbol of transformation. That is what it means to be chosen. If this message spoke to your soul, don't let it fade. Subscribe to Narc Nemesis for more Jungian stories of awakening, shadow work, and spiritual psychology. Leave a comment below. Tell us which of Jung's truths hit you the hardest. And remember, in all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. Carl Jung. Until next time, keep your light burning, even in the dark.